Pixar has been in a super special spot for a while. They were the first to use computer graphics for full-length animated movies, and their movies were loved by pretty much everyone who saw them. People of all ages couldn't get enough of these awesome stories they told. Even years later, their movies are still a big deal. That even Disney, their parent company, couldn't copy their success, which made Pixar seem like an unstoppable force. But lately, things have changed for Pixar. Some of their sequels haven't been as good as their original movies. While there might be some good ones here and there, it's clear that Pixar isn't perfect anymore. They're known for their cool ideas and awesome writing, so when they go into something fresh, it usually turns out great. Well, there was this one time. In 2015, something special happened. After 8 years of awesome standalone films, Pixar took a little break, and then they came back with two incredible movies in a row. One of them was a touching story about emotions and growing up. It became one of the most popular and loved movies ever. And then there's The Good Dinosaur. This was a giant disappointment for Pixar. It was the first movie to not even get nominated for Best Animated Movie of the Year and didn't even make much money either. It was considered the worst standalone Pixar film at the time. And after it came out, it seemed like people forgot about it really quickly. Even though The Good Dinosaur didn't do well, hardcore Pixar fans still talk about it, which is pretty surprising. But hey, everyone has a fan base. The Good Dinosaur had a rough journey and went through tons of rewrites and even changed its main cast and director, which is really unusual for Pixar. On top of that, The Good Dinosaur got delayed for 18 months before it finally came out, so it feels like this movie was destined to fail. So, what went wrong? Pixar started thinking about the idea for this movie way back in 2009. Even in Pixar's earlier film, Up, there's a drawing of a dinosaur in the background, hidden behind a sculpture of the main character. The idea of a movie about dinosaurs probably started way back when Pixar first began. They're known for making stories about all sorts of things coming to life on screen. Back then, the Good Dinosaur project was called Untitled Pixar Movie About Dinosaurs. The two people involved in this project are Dan Scanlon and Bob Peterson. They both worked on big Pixar movies before and even worked together on a project called Dub Son, where Scanlon was a storyboard artist and Peterson was a co-director. Even though the main story elements of the movie were still being figured out, the core idea of an alternate reality where dinosaurs evolved into a society after a comet missed Earth was already in the works. This idea became the foundation for everything else in the movie. With Peterson leading the project, Scanlon as the main writer, they wanted to challenge our typical idea of dinosaurs. The simple title of the movie would have had a deeper meaning. The story was set in a society of dinosaurs living like farmers in the Midwest during the 1930s. Each dinosaur had a specific job in this dinosaur society. Triceratops act as bulldozers, clearing the land, while the Apatosaurus plowed and planted seeds, and the Parasaurolophus gathered the harvest. Everything seemed simple until Arlo, a young Apatosaurus, stumbled upon a strange human named Spot, named after the 3 dots on his forehead. Their relationship became the heart of the story, showing how dinosaurs and humans could live together with the meteor not wiping them out. Arlo and Spot initially had some misunderstandings, but soon formed a close bond. Their underdog relationship was supposed to be the main focus, with maybe an evil dinosaur threatening their peaceful society, which is supposed to add some excitement to the story. The original release date of the movie was November 27 in 2013. But Pixar couldn't finish it on time. The project, which started as a dinosaur movie, had evolved into something completely different. It seems like they lost the initial focus of the movie. Peterson and his producer, John Walker, faced serious problems with the story. They ended up with 3 different plot lines in the 3rd act. So in the same year, the movie got delayed for the first time. Peterson was replaced by Soren as the main director, and Denise Ring became the producer. Ring described the situation to the Huffington Post, saying they had to make a tough decision. They knew they had to do something to fix the story. Soren wanted to honor the world and characters Peterson had created, but also wanted to simplify the story. Peterson needed to finish the movie, and Soren was the right person for the job. As it turned out, a lot changed in the new version of the movie. While it still centered around Arlo, the dinosaur, and a human child named Spot, most of the original concept was scrapped. The farming idea became less important. Nature itself became the major antagonist in the story. Many characters from the original draft were removed, including one of Arlo's brothers and all his potential friends. Arlo himself was aged down from 17 to 11. His original voice actor wasn't quite right for the younger version, so Raymond Ochoa took over. The entire voice cast, underwent changes. These extensive changes suggest there were significant problems with the original draft, possibly portraying a certain group, like dinosaurs, in a negative light. Disney was likely keen to avoid sending the wrong message about making assumptions based on appearances. The focus shift on a simpler story about a younger dinosaur finding his place in the world and proving himself to his family. This time, Arlo and Spot didn't start off on good terms. Arlo had to protect his family's silo to survive a drought, which led to some initial tension between them. Arlo's father, Henry, wanted him to leave his mark on the world, just like his siblings, Libby and Buck, as shown by the footprints on the silo. However, Arlo's fear leads him to get lost in the wilderness alongside his unlucky friend. He embarks on a journey to find his way home, discovering the true meaning of friendship along the way. After another delay, Pixar finally announced that the movie would come out on November 25th in 2015. This marked the first time two Pixar films were released in the same year, with both featuring original stories. The anticipation for the movies was high. Having two Pixar films released in the same year could have been seen as Pixar being ambitious and offering the audience more of their beloved storytelling. For example, Inside Out, released earlier that year, became a fan favorite for many viewers, so there was excitement to see what The Good Dinosaur had to offer, especially with its unique twist on a classic homeward bound story and the intriguing concept of dinosaurs and humans coexisting. The promotional art and trailers hinted at another classic Pixar movie in the making. The audience was expecting something more profound and impactful, but instead, the story was predictable and the characters were hard to relate to. The movie lacked any depth or excitement. The scenes felt disjointed. Unlike other Pixar films like Finding Nemo or Monsters, Inc., there weren't any charming side plots or memorable side characters to add dimension to the story. Also, this film played it very safe without adding any surprising plot twists. Despite going through many rewrites, it kind of made it a little difficult to be fully immersed in this movie. It's true that Pixar movies are made for both kids and adults, and it's easy to consider personal expectations when judging a film. While many children might have enjoyed The Good Dinosaur, it's fair to expect more for Pixar movies given their track record of creating captivating stories of all ages. Pixar films have often been celebrated for their ability to resonate with audiences of all ages, offering something for everyone to enjoy and appreciate. It's understandable to feel disappointed when Pixar movies fall short of those expectations, especially when comparing to their previous works. Ultimately, everyone's experience with the film is subjective, and it's okay to have different opinions. It seemed like The Good Dinosaur may have leaned more towards a younger audience compared to some of Pixar's other films, which often appeals to both children and adults. However, it's important to note that Pixar movies have always been visually stunning, and The Good Dinosaur is no exception. Despite any criticisms of the story or target audience, the animation in this movie was top-notch. In fact, one scene from The Good Dinosaur reportedly used as much data as the entirety of Cars 2, taking up a total of 300 terabytes of storage, which is 10 times more than Monster University. So while the film may have had its shortcomings, its visual qualities were certainly impressive. Pixar continued its tradition of pushing technical boundaries with The Good Dinosaur. They developed a new software to create incredible realistic clouds, allowing light to interact with them in a believable way. This resulted in stunning visuals with backgrounds that look almost photorealistic. However, despite the breathtaking scenery, some viewers felt like the movie lacked direction. The main character's journey through these beautiful landscapes felt aimless. Some parts felt like watching a boring nature documentary. This seems to be a common complaint among the audience. It sounds like the filmmakers faced some challenges during production, particularly with the script. They may have realized they wrote themselves into a corner, but were hesitant to take big risks that could stray too far from the initial premise. As a result, the film ended up feeling like a straightforward road trip story with better visuals. While the concept of a world where dinosaurs never went extinct is intriguing, the filmmakers chose to focus on the heartfelt journey of Arlo and Spot rather than exploring more offbeat ideas like dinosaurs in cities or wearing spacesuits. This decision may have helped maintain the emotional core of the story, but could have also limited the film's potential for innovation and uniqueness. Pixar's movies often start with simple ideas that seem unlikely to succeed, but end up captivating audiences of all ages. The key is, even with these initially silly concepts, Pixar always injects a major conflict that keeps the story engaging. For example, in Cars, it's the piston cup race that drives the narrative forward and keeps the viewers invested in the characters, while The Good Dinosaur may have struggled because it lacked a clear central conflict or driving force. While the concept of dinosaurs living in the modern world is intriguing, the story didn't seem to have a strong enough hook to hold the audience's attention. Also, while Pixar is known for blending visual comedy with heartfelt storytelling, The Good Dinosaur may have leaned too heavily on visuals without providing enough depth in its narration. Pixar's success lies in its ability to balance inventive concepts with compelling storytelling and relatable characters. When these elements come together, even the most unlikely ideas can make for memorable and enjoyable films. You can make a great comparison between Brave and The Good Dinosaur. While Brave may have not been the most original story, it offered a unique twist for Pixar by setting the story in the past and centering it around a female protagonist. The film felt like a Disney story with a fresh perspective and introduced audiences to charming characters and an engaging world. Contrast this with The Good Dinosaur, which struggled to feel fresh and original. Some viewers felt that the movie relied too heavily on familiar tropes and lacked the natural incorporation of symbolism and characters. The changes during the production, such as the decision to have the dad die earlier in the story, may have contributed to this feeling of disconnect. However, both films have their merit in their perspective of a young protagonist. Like Arlo offers a different viewpoint than the adult leads of other Pixar films. Ultimately, each movie's success comes down to its ability to resonate with the audience and tell a compelling story, regardless of whether it breaks new grounds or follow familiar patterns. It sounds like the decision to tell The Good Dinosaur from the perspective of a young dependent character like Arlo in order to create a unique narrative. However, the execution of the main conflict, particularly Arlo's father's death, may have fallen short in terms of emotional impact. The twist feels predictable and undermines the potential for genuine emotional resonance. Also, the film's attempt at comedy may have detracted for the more sad moments, which further diluted the emotional impact. Streamlining the story may have inadvertently caused The Good Dinosaur to feel less like a typical Pixar film, while simplifying the narrative can sometimes strengthen the story. In this case, it may have resulted in a lack of depth and emotional engagement. Overall, it seems like while this film has some ambitious ideas, its execution ultimately fell short of Pixar's usual standards. It seems like The Good Dinosaur struggled with balancing the storyline and the development of side characters. The brief appearance of these characters on screen made it difficult for them to leave a lasting impact or resonate with the audience. Additionally, the marketing for this movie, including the merchandise, may have not have been handled effectively, potentially contributing to the underperformance of this movie. The timing of this movie release, particularly to Inside Out, may have also played a role in its reception. While a Thanksgiving release could initially draw an audience, the close release dates between these two films may have split the viewership and affected The Good Dinosaur box office performance. Despite these challenges, it's worth noting that a Thanksgiving release has proven successful for Pixar in the past, as seen with Coco. However, each movie's success is influenced by a variety of factors, and unfortunately, The Good Dinosaur had to face obstacles that prevented it from reaching the same level as its predecessors. It's interesting to consider the timing of The Good Dinosaur release and its prolonged stay in the theaters, competing with Creed and The Hunger Games Part 2 might have seemed like a favorable position, but the movie's box office performance was likely affected by the looming release of a major sci-fi series. Disney's strategy to release a lesser movie before a big blockbuster is a common practice in the industry, but it can sometimes lead to challenges for smaller films. In this case, it appears that The Good Dinosaur may have been overshadowed, ultimately impacting its box office success. Disney may have been cutting costs as The Good Dinosaur approached its finish line. It's understandable that the studio wanted to manage expenses, but it's important for the films to receive the support they need. It's understandable to wonder about the potential of The Good Dinosaur and what could have been if given more time or a different creative direction. Pixar has a history of overcoming challenges and producing acclaimed films, even facing significant challenges during production. As seen with Ratatouille, The Good Dinosaur can provide a valuable lesson for Pixar and the animation industry as a whole. It's not about condemning the film, but rather understanding what went wrong and how similar challenges can be addressed in the past. For example, The Emperor's New Groove, originally known as Kingdom of the Sun, faced similar troubles during its production, with significant changes made to the story and characters. Despite these challenges, The Emperor's New Groove ultimately found success and became a beloved animation classic. By examining these experiences, Pixar can learn valuable lessons about the importance of creative collaborations, flexibility during productions, and staying true to the heart of the story. While The Good Dinosaur may have not achieved the level of success that Pixar hoped for, it still provides valuable insight for the future of animation storytelling.